A very warm welcome to this Leadership Summit for Educators. On behalf of Melange-Curations, I welcome all the international and nationally recognized acclaimed speakers and experts. And allow me to introduce this number of speakers we do have for these 2 days. Dr. Charan from USA, a renowned consultant and a business coach, very well-known person. Professor Indra Parekh, a founder and president of Flame Institute, Pune. Mr. Pradeep Bhargav, who is going to be here tomorrow, and former chairman of Cummins Technologies, Professor Parimal Merchant from Dubai, and key position in a renowned institute. And Mr. Mahesh Sharma, a mentor and advisor for Flexiter Ventures International Limited. Mr. Sunil Chaudia, former chairman CII Western Region and a promoter Rajratan Global Wires. Mr. P. Dwarkanath, the former chairman and GSK Consumer Healthcare Limited from Delhi. Dr. Sandeep Atre, counseling psychologist and trainer for social and emotional intelligence. The need of Leadership Summit for Educators is evident in a rapidly changing landscape in a business ecosystem. Melange-Curations aims to contribute to beginning and understanding the gap dynamics it has. To kick off these 2 days workshop, we are honored to have Dr. Charan with us and Mr. Mahesh Sharma, a seasoned business expert with us. Their insight will unveil the success secrets of world's renowned Ivy schools in the world and shed the light on the strategies of building successful educational institute. Without further delay, I would like to invite Dr. Ram and Mr. Mahesh Sharma for an engaging conversation that promises to enlightening all of us. Shall I invite Dr. Ram and Mr. Mahesh Sharma? Now I request Mr. Davish Jain to do a floral welcome to Dr. Charan. Thank you, Sonal. Ladies and gentlemen, let us embark on this journey of knowledge and collaboration at Leadership Summit for Educators. And sir, Mr. Mahesh Sharma, it's all yours. You can start the way you...
Yeah, thank you. Morning, friends. I guess it's a close-knit family. I guess it's most befitting that we start this session discussing a topic which is at the heart of every educator sitting here, institution building. Institution building is not a function of creating civil infrastructure. Large playgrounds, big halls, with swanky auditoriums really do not make institution. At the same time, lack of space also do not come in the way of becoming a great institution. Building the institution, as we all know, involves visionary leadership, excellence, culture of excellence, innovation, collaboration. But the question that comes up here is, how do we build an institution with a personality, with a character? In current times, when it is becoming difficult to even attract top-notch faculties, leave alone the students, how do we build the institution of future? What model of institution building do we follow? Do we all aspire to be Harvard or Stanford or Wharton or IIM or ISB? And frankly speaking, with the resources available to Tier 2 and Tier 3 institutes, is it really possible to becoming one of these Ivy League colleges? More fundamental question probably is, should we become one of these MITs and Ivy League colleges or charter out our own path? In the journey of building an institution, I'm sure there are many challenges, roadblocks. We need to have a roadmap, and we need to know how to navigate all these challenges. And for this, I guess there is nobody better to turn to than Dr. Ram, who is here with us, and who is #1 business coach worldwide, as we know, but who also has been an educator himself, having taught at Harvard, Wharton, Stanford, Babson, and several other Ivy League colleges. So we are luckier to have him today. He's not here for long, so I would quickly request on behalf of all of you to Dr. Ram for his opening address, which would then be followed by question answer from all of us, a format that he desired to have. So Dr. Ram, for your opening address, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I coming out clearly there? Is it on here? So it's your very valuable time here. And so my hope is that each of you can get one or two ideas, and maybe they will be useful to you. I like to learn more what is on your mind so I can be helpful to you, because I can easily go offline and nothing will happen. I pontificate, and you say, what am I talking? It's not relevant for us. So when you ask me questions, so I begin to figure out what is useful to you. So I'm going to make a few points that I have distilled over time. But the first point is that within India, and we should be beyond India, I see very clearly that we're going to have a more than doubling of the economy over the next 6, 7, 8 years. I can see that. I see the building blocks of it. I see the execution of it. And so there'll be plenty of need of trained people. I've no doubt in my mind. I've been writing about the India strategy. So the first thing we got to come to understand that India is now in this sunlight. India's strategy is beyond India, in the peripheral countries and so on. So I want you to think about what's your vision, particularly about the India's economic growth. What kind of things going to be here, growing, which way they're growing, how would they be growing, what will be new sectors, old sectors, what will happen. We have to have a view of the external change. We may disagree with each other, and our feet on the ground, beyond just saying the GDP will be 7 trillion. I don't think I imagined even 6 years ago that we could become an important center for defense production. We will. Became clear when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh signed the nuclear thing. I said, that's the beginning. And so I had guessed that United States will not sign a nuclear thing unless something more is behind it. Now you're watching all those things and saying, what are these? So I was told yesterday, 28 sectors Mr. Modi has assigned to various houses to go and nourish them. 28 sectors. They will create jobs. Foreign development, FDI will come here. People want to come here. And Japan has adopted India as a central country. South Korea has. Americans not quite there yet, but Washington is. So I begin to see, and each institution, be a company, be a college, be a university, need to have what is the landscape you see going forward. Am I making sense to the group here? Plenty of data available. So you can see that. The second part is that in the area that is emerging, how do you position yourself in that change? So my experience across the globe is, what is it that you do uniquely and build yourself in the number one, number two, number three over time. You don't have to be large, but you have to be unique. What is unique? And so that unique part is something you stand out. And the unique part, you got to match two things. One, who is the customer? This is not a simple question. Who is the customer? And what does the customer need? And am I the institution that is unique and better than others to provide that? It's a universal principle for any institution, for any government, for any non-profit. Because somebody is wanting your output. Is your output better, etc., than somebody else's? And over time, cumulatively, are you building your brand that the customer population sees that you have it? Does that make sense? I'm going to illustrate those. Those are two almost universal principles. You struggle, you go down, pick up again, build it, but you carry it out. You need the leadership of each institution that is committed, enthusiastic, stay with that path. And that path will get you there. So I met Professor Parimal this morning. I know nothing about SJGen. Is this SJGen? Institution, heard the name before. Now they're unique. So I'm going to use a couple of words, then I'll get you in the way I understood. And it's easy to correct me. I'm very, very, very open on that. Look at in India. Do you think there is a demand for the children of the companies that are founded, the children of the founders, that they get training? Do you think there's a demand here? It's a huge demand. Many of them getting education, early education outside India. Many of them want to be brought in to run their businesses. The parents want it, some like it. Some don't want to do it. So we do know that there is a demand, and we do know who the customers are. What is it they want from us that we provide uniquely to them? The demand is not just in India. You think demand is in Bangladesh, Indonesia, Philippines, Dubai, all around. 70% plus businesses are private, family driven, some such large number. So we don't need much statistical analysis. We know the customer is there, demand is there. We need to figure out what is it we produce that will help them. They go out, they benefited, and as a result, over time, you build your brand. That's what the SJGen, right? SJGen? SPGen Institute. And they have a very clear program. You build your brand. And by the way, even in China, until the SOE stuff, it's more than 80% are family driven. And I work and I see them. So the key point is, each of us, whatever you're driving, define your customer. What is the population of it? What is it they need? And what is my product? So those who know software, it's a common terminology in software now, which is the all artificial intelligence. They all talk about what's your product. Is that product tuned to it? And then we say, Are you innovating that product? If you're not innovating that product, you're not going to build your brand, you're not going to get your customers. There comes the research. Is the research tuned to improve that product? Is the research tuned that the customer says, I can't wait to go back to the institution for a refresher? Is that innovation such they want to come? Refresher, they want to fund you. They do. Family companies are very generous in funding institutions. So you do that. So in the case of SP Jain Institute, they have the family business. There are other places, they have institution, insurance business to be very, 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 very high. So I see these places. I had gone to a couple of years ago, Jaipuriya Institute. I saw that, learned from them. And we're saying, okay, what is it they produce? And who gets them? So I want to give you 3-4 things to think about, and I'm talking about middle tier institutions. I'm not talking IIMs, I'm not talking IITs, even though I'm one of the early guys in the foundation of IIM Ahmedabad. I trained the first faculty of IIM Ahmedabad at Harvard. I was teaching there. And all the history is there. I'm looking at our middle tier, can I say middle tier institutions to go after. So I have a very large company in India, very, very large. And so I worked with them and I said, what do you need? We need 10,000 engineers, 3,000 MBAs or some such thing. So as I talked to the founder, and he gave me 2 people, so I talked to them first. What are you looking for? Nobody has ever asked that question. They say, go to the best institutions. What are you looking for? What will they do in this company? They want fresh graduates, by the way. Okay. So let me give you 3 items I gave them. They use them. They selected from the middle tier side of it. The first criteria is the candidate magnet to work with people. In a company, you are not going to go anywhere in a line job without that characteristic. Otherwise, you remain an analyst. That criteria went very quickly. You say, yes. Is this person a magnet to work with people, get the people to grow, develop, and deliver?
You are referring to the student here.
A student. Because I'm sending somebody to recruit from your college. So we say we're going to find those students in the interview who meet this criteria, even though it is subjective. Clear? Second criteria. Does this person have a habit to learn every single day? You cannot go up without that. You can argue every single day, every week, every month. That's not the major point. Does he have the habit? How do we know that? And third, can he or she get the job done? This person need not be in the top third of the class. Reasonably bright. Many of these people don't like to go to classes. They hate them. Because the instructors, what they are teaching is something different than they like to do. So they use that. and last year they had several thousand students from middle places. And so I want you to keep a record, how they progress, put on the AI, how long they stay, how they get promoted. The whole interview process changed. Because if you're going to work in a company, unless you have a staff job, even then you're going to work with other people. You need those three characteristics. And most of them can be found in institutions that are not the high-level ones. These are the people who could not meet your tests, admission tests. But they get things done. They magnet for people. They can't wait to learn things. So in the American scene, which I'm reasonably well familiar, the CEOs in America, in the top 500, the non-Ivy School CEOs is a smaller number than the ones who came from the middle side. That's a fact. Study in my days, a study just came out. Part of the reason is that part, that if you're going to be doing something, you've got to be a people person, in the broader sense of the word. So think about your institution. Who is your customer? What's the population? What is this customer's need? Not being satisfied. And we are, over time, we provide that to be really the best in the world. Go over time, get the right faculty. And then do your research, that which is an innovation to what your product is. Whatever that innovation is, whatever your research is. So I want to open up to questions now, but those were the initial. By the way, I have taught at Babson. Babson is in the middle tier. I was doing my master's and doctorate. Just go down, take a bus, and teach them in the evenings. And very bright students. And Babson is a very good school from my side of the thinking. But now let me learn about what is on your mind. If I had some ideas, I will.
Dr. Ram, if I could take,
Yeah,
it's very well noted by the House that we need not essentially clone the Western model of Ivy League colleges and be our own unique institute and build the brand. But there is a bit of challenge involved here, like SP Jain or Prestige Institute. Okay, they are the owners. They have to make commercial success of the institute as well. At the same time, they have to be delivering an education for tomorrow to the students. They have to build bridges with the academia. In entire process, what is the real core job of an educator?
Yeah. So here I have to define in 2 or 3 different ways.
Sure.
The first part is, let me say the dean maybe is the best
Dean,
way to start.
yeah.
But dean has the faculty, administrators. He is the CEO of the institution. So I got this kind of a faculty, this kind of this. So the first part is that once you know, at least your plan, that I want to be the unique part of a family business, because I pick family. I need to figure out the quality of characteristics of the incoming students.
All right.
The raw material. By the way, there is a school in Pune in my name just established. And so they asked me to be the chancellor, all that I can do. So now I'm working with the dean. I say, you're going to start with this selection of these students. If your raw material is not of the right nature, you're not going to do what you need to do. So
Got it.
that's the first part. The second part of it is the faculty building. In the faculty part of it, you have to really think of a couple of combinations. And that combination is that I would want, unless you have the academic faculty so good, which is very unlikely, some are, but not too many of these, I would like you to invite the people from the industry and do co-teaching.
Co-teaching, did you say?
Co-teaching. 10 sessions are more than, I've done that. 10 sessions are more than enough so long they are disciplined and so on. And it has to be in the sense that the academic faculty can structure, help them do that. And the business faculty bring the practical knowledge. Now, one of the things that the business faculty brings, something we don't teach in the academic side, it's something. The art of asking the right questions. That's huge. If I can get my son to go to a 10-session class in which the business teacher is asking the question and training them, practicing them, giving them real, and the academic person bringing the fundamentals of it, it's huge. So that's the second part, is the co-teaching.
Very unique, yeah. Please.
You said the first point that you're making, you said
Yeah, who's the customer?
Yeah.
now, first of all, let me understand who are the customers, the educators out here and not the education, but whether it is the students who are the customers or is it the industry which is the customer?
Yeah, no, great question, right? Yeah, number first is that you have the industry who want to recruit these people. But so is the, let me use the word student, a student who wants to come here. So there is a linkage between the two. And that product is the student going out to the customer to recruit.
So at some point you say students are raw material and those you say they are customers, they are not raw material, they are product. I think, is there a silo that we put them into or is it like
No, it's very simple. That they have the SPJ. It's a family one. The family people are the customers, the founders, that my student, my son or daughter should do that. But at the end of the day, they decide, do they want to come to the institute? So I have one of the 5 most important families of India. The son wants to do it, father said, no. He's a customer. I personally coach a guy, a young guy. He wants to do this. And I said, well, I don't think your father will. But he went to his father, I said, no. So those are the people who will write your paycheck. And they are the most. So in one of the institutes I put it in, I said, I want you to get the business people to come if you have a 2-year course. Very early in the game, have them meet the students, inform, get them to assess what they're looking at. And you would be surprised how much I love these students. Build that linkage. Now, when I comes, I just want to mention that. Who is going to do the teaching? So I came with the concept of doing teaching. The faculty has to have the mindset of the teaching that the students really get what you have. Their research to make a name in academics may not be the right thing to do. That's what they have for. Now here comes the last one. What is the criteria by which the dean is promoting the faculty? In the Harvard, Stanford, his publications, in the academic journal. So early days when I was teaching at Harvard, I had a lot of practice with the business people, CEOs. I began to consult CEOs in 1964. And I said, what magazines do you read? I said, what are you talking about? They don't even name the Harvard Business Review at the time. Never heard of the Academy of Management Journal. Never. Even today, I know these top business people I work for in India. They have no clue what is an Academy of Management Journal. Most of them don't read the Harvard Business Review. They don't. They do publications, they do research, they get promoted. So the promotion criteria is a huge. So I picked up the team.
Yeah. That's I have two questions. Picking up on your customer focus and what you are referring right now about a practice at Ivy League. If I could start with the second question first. What really makes Ivy League colleges Ivy League? In what way are they different? We would not clone them, but their good practices would help imbibe their practices here.
First, I want you to know it took a long time. Harvard and Wharton, they began in the early 1900s or so. And in those days, economics was the major discipline. And these two people, Baker and Wharton, they tried that we could have a business. And they were looked down by the economics faculty. They did some co-teaching and whatnot. Now you go to the economics department at Harvard, and they have nothing. They don't go to these business companies. And they say these business guys are really elite going forward. So it took a long time to do that. And what made them is their people, over time, their output going like this over time. That creates the brand going forward. So I had gone to Northwestern in 1973. It was nowhere. And by about 80s, began to come in the top 10, top 5. So the dean was a very practical man. He was the last choice to become a dean, externally going in, bringing in, tilting the faculty to be more practical oriented. He shifted the faculty. And that's how they go. But there's a lot of momentum going in. Now, then they begin to differentiate. Chicago is more finance oriented, MIT more engineering oriented, Harvard more general management oriented. All those things begin to come out going forward.
That brings, sorry,
Yeah,
please, ma'am.
please go.
We need to understand what the Harvard, MIT are doing. Now, I have a feeling that somewhere in the culture, we are still not accepting that we can create new ideas, new concepts, new theoretical frameworks, new theories, and then make it universal. Somehow we still have a colonial mindset of getting things from outside. I have that extremely strong view on that, because when I started Flame, a Canadian firm came to talk to us and said, give us your land, give us your students, you prepare the buildings, you prepare everything, we will teach your students, we will bring the faculty, and the students will be ours, not yours. And I completely disagreed, and I said, no, I will go and make it my way. Even if it is a second in nature, I will still do it my way. And I will not collaborate with you until we are at par with you.
Yeah, sure. But I like Mr. Modi's statement, but that's personal view. India doesn't have to be somebody else. India being India. You know what I'm talking about. Because there are very many good things. And I believe, if I heard you right, you did the right thing because they're sitting from their side. I put my branch here. It's going to be my way. not your way. And they're going to be poor not knowing and learning from you. So that part. But I like to come back to the institutions here who are in the middle. See, what are your pressures, questions?
So one, if I could ask on their
Please, yeah,
behalf,
please.
you talked of, in the context of being customer focused, defense industry, or you
Yes.
also talked of
Yes.
AI.
Yes.
Now there's going to be a huge defense growth in this country,
Yes.
and large skills would be required for that.
Yes.
And logistics or AI or defense, they are not even part of our curriculum here in most of the business schools. So the need is clearly here. What is being taught is what is being controlled or regulated or advised by some government body. How do we integrate this need of the industry, which is not their part of formal curriculum?
Yeah, so if I got it right,
Right.
I will start the following way. I will look at the suppliers to the major contractors. And we have here in Indore, $100 million annual revenue. I have another one, $200 million. I have one in Bangalore looking at it. So the suppliers need business to business selling. We can train them. You become a master of it. And so be picking those kinds of things. And no defense industry can ever be built without lots of suppliers. We're going to develop that. You may not have the prime contractors like BHEL or the Adanis and so on. There they're going to bring some of the people from outside, build the institutions to do that. But right now, you look at these selling jobs, marketing jobs, production scaling jobs, scheduling jobs. They're going to be frontiers. And we can develop that internally from the internal faculty and then the co-teaching.
So where do we get the faculties for this?
Yeah. First part of the faculty, we may have to recruit who want to come in here and say do that. We may have to bring people from temporary periods. For example, Harvard established a business school in Nicaragua, Philippines, IMD in Switzerland. People like me went in there, we trained the faculty, they worked with us. It's not totally Latin American faculty, totally. It took some time to do. So that will come. There'll be retired professors from defense area. Harvard used to have a defense teaching unit at one point. That kind of a thing we'll have to bring in. That's going to come.
Of course, the house is open for the questions from educators, but I was just wondering, sir, that it said that Indian education system generates more employees. The students who are worthy of an employment with somebody and lets the culture of entrepreneurship. Do you see that is an important focus to have into our system? And if yes, how do we have that?
We could have that, but I would like to focus on each of your institutions. Who is your customer? What's your product? How are you building your brand? How unique? So entrepreneurial could be one of them. But I'm seeing here, it's going to have an incredible demand in the next 3-4 years about selling. B2B selling, business to business. Who's doing that? Not to my knowledge. There may be some. And they are very important jobs for various industries. You're not going to become a CEO day one, so, but people have to come from there. We're going to have a fantastic demand for production scheduling. You're going to need AI for this. And you can go right after the graduation to do this. You don't have to have 5,000 years of experience. All these jobs are going to be here. And the middle tier people, if you consider that criteria, people first. Getting things done and learning.
Interesting.
To the jobs.
Yeah.
We should be able to have more demand than supply for each institution. People clamor to come because your guys fit.
Yeah.
So I used to see it at University of Michigan. University of Michigan is not really, it is high, but not. And the people from Amazon will come and take the whole class. Say, you are the best in developing software products. They took a batch at one point, they did fantastic, they found it. So build that uniqueness. I'm very clear, Harvard MBAs will not succeed there. Even though the CEO of Amazon today is a Harvard guy, but you don't see very many Harvard guys. You don't see middle
Sure.
tier guys. So that's the reason. The general part we can do,
Yeah.
but go for specific.
What is specific to that
Many
area?
colleges here, they're very good. By the way, I serve on a board in India, in America. And I kept saying, the board needs to understand AI.
Board needs to understand AI, artificial intelligence.
company
Yeah.
board.
Yeah. Company board.
And so I said, somebody said, well, let's go to Harvard, let's go to Stanford. I said, no, I want to go to a community college. Community college? Yeah. So they figured community college. There is the gentleman who teaches AI. What's his background? He worked for Microsoft. So I called him up. I said, you're my man. Come, I'll work with you. He explained for the whole day 9 algorithms and the director's guide. Because he teaches the community college. I'm not looking for the people who are developing new algorithms. I'm looking for somebody who's teaching it. They exist in community colleges. They come in there. They don't get access to people like me and the board members. When you do co-teaching and your industry around, you have access to them. They see it. They coach it. They will do that. They're retired people who will come and do that.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
What would take national level of faculty to be attracted apart from salary, you know?
Could you tell me the question, please?
My question is, what would it take to attract high level of faculty, international level of world-class faculty, apart from salary?
Yeah, no, it's a very important question. First, I need to define the word top-notch. For our kind of institutions, the research in the academic papers is not the criteria to be top-notch. You're chasing the rainbow. Cut it out. Second, try to pick that faculty or excellent teachers, lousy researchers, lousy in the academic sense. Today, you could not succeed at Harvard, Stanford, MIT without regression analysis. You don't need it. You absolutely do not need that research. It's done for other purposes. So you want people who are teachers, who learn, who can work with co-teaching people, and they are available because they don't get tenure there, they don't get promoted there. And if your dean nurtures promotion level that way, you will have no difficulty getting them, and get them early in their career, not when they have the 10 years away. Then you're going to pay $1 zillion for them. And they exist. It's very important. People who love academic research and want to be famous in that, they don't belong to that. They're good people. They belong there. They get foundation money. They get a research assistant full-time. They get zero load for 2 years. They get funded. You can't afford that. Plus, it's not relevant.
Sir, and then about this hybrid learning, what is this being in vogue? Hybrid learning. So, what that is environment, is it right way for our undergrad students to make it effective? Because at the time of pandemic, I think most of the institutions were forced to, I must say, adopt that kind of this thing. But now, beyond the campus, in the hybrid mode, should that continue, or that's not desirable?
Is seeking your opinion on multidisciplinary learning, the hybrid learning, if I understand you right.
No, multidisciplinary.
And which, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now, the first thing I want to say, as an instructor, is the motivation of the individual to learn something. I may inspire it as a faculty,
Sir.
and people do inspire. So the motivation for learning is very critical. And second is the interest in the subject. Because we teach things the individual is not interested, but required. So I want to see those two things match. Now I come to the point, if they're doing it, then you can have the combination. You see, you go back to the early days, including mine here. We didn't have an internet. We didn't have instructors. I used to sit on the floor. The teacher came sitting on a kursi. You know what I mean? You did with the takhti. And you were listening. We learned. Many of us learned through the books. I was thrown out of the class, no books. Because I was driven to learn. The earlier learning was all through the books. Not very many people have been able to teach. So you've got to go on that basis and say it's okay. How do you know? The problem is many of the people don't think what they are learning is relevant and interesting. That's the real problem. I should tell you this.
Sir.
I mean, in my days, we used to have what we call intermediate. High school, 2 years. In the first year, no furniture, nothing. And this young man teaches, he probably was BA. And he taught, for which we pay at Harvard Business School $50,000. Physics. He will describe a phenomena and then ask us what is the principle behind it. That is priceless teaching. He trained nowhere. We sitting, all of us, on the edge of the chair.
Professor Parimal, you have run the institute in India and taught in India and now doing it in Dubai. Are there certain challenges that you faced in building an institution that you would like to have a counter perspective from Dr. Ram? I'm sure there must have been many challenges and concerns that you would have in building the institute that you have done already. Dr. Ram, that brings an important aspect that we have faced is of importance of alumni chapters in building
Yes.
an institution.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, I have a strong view on this.
Sure.
And that is the deans need to put a concentrated effort to bring the alumni back. Bringing back for something they can get in that period. And so something refresher, something, a hot topic that's relevant to them, you invite them, link with them. Do that because they want to come. And in our culture it's very clear, at least I can talk for myself, that we want to do something to the institution we come from. It's a very cultural part, no question. So you create these 1 day, half a day, alumni educational programs. They may be your institution, maybe somebody else is coming in. That must be done. It's very common in the Ivy League schools, by the way. They invite the alumni, they may get a government official to come that they will not otherwise see. So when I was teaching at Northwestern, the dean, Don Jacobs, he was an economics professor in his full-time job. So he had these breakfast sessions of the faculty and the alumni. And one day he invited John Connolly. John Connolly was Secretary of Treasury at the time. Well, everybody wants to come.
Sure.
So the dean have contacts with business people. Business people can help invite those people and do that. And that's the good. I was just at Northwestern back after some 30 years or so. And I saw those. Some of them were my students, have become big business people. And they had a wonderful program of those alumni. We can copy that.
I know, Dr. Rachna, you had given us the time until 11:30 because you have the next session in that tea break. But if you could allow me one last question to Dr. Ram. Sir, the impression that we carry in India is that in most of Western world, the institute and industry collaboration and projects are heavily funded by corporates. That's quite a challenge for tier 2 and tier 3 institutes here in India. How do they cope up with this, where they are not big enough to attract the money, yet they need that bridge with the corporates to do a meaningful job?
See, the first part is start with the baby steps of co-teaching. Alumni people coming in the programs. Get your exposure to them. And then create the campaign of the alumni that you have annual fundraising campaign. At Harvard, a large part is the annual fundraising campaign with the alumni. Then some of the big ones who became big, they donate. For example, Mr. Ratan Tata went there for a 10-week program. So as he tells me, he said, I begin to feel, what am I doing here? Remember, this is Ratan Tata who knows, I think, you know what I'm talking about, he's an industrialist and so on. So I have a lot of respect for him. But he's teaching in the class. I said, what am I doing here? And so somehow he did endure 10 weeks. But he gave $50 million to build the Tata Hall. It's there. Some do scholarships. But bring them in, have them seen. Build the bridge there. Then you get that. The other part is the money. They're not going to give you money for academic, traditional, Ivy League type research. They're not going to do that. That comes from a different angle. What they do, they take the alumni funding, and then the dean allocates for those researchers. Very few come on that basis. They do come. For example, there is a big funding company called BlackRock. Yeah, the CEO is very interested in a certain kind of research, so he will fund that because he thinks it's very, very relevant. Those things do happen. But stay with your course. As I said, don't try to become an IIM Ahmedabad. Don't chase the rainbow. There's a lot of opportunity in that sector. They're going to need that. Are you unique? There is an institution here in Delhi. I've not looked at it yet. The gentleman called me up, talked to me. They produce, and Government of India funds it, the trade people, welders, and so on. And Mr. Modi, apparently, he told me on the phone, he now wants to double that output. because they're all employed. He said, there's a zero unemployment. The demand is there. Customer is clear. So we were talking. I said, well, why don't you think about, get the double, we do quadruple, because all the countries around want those skills. They don't have many of those. They're professional, they get certificate, and they employ. So each institution at our level, I just want to be sure one of the tests, all of your graduates get employed in time. Otherwise, something is missing. And do not have anybody who looks like unemployable. There's something wrong if somebody is unemployable. That'll be a big test. And one of the ways is you bring the industry people early. If it is a 2-year course in the early part of second year, 1-year course somewhere in the middle, have them talk, sit down, do it, attend classes, see it. That will begins to create the bridge. Yes, please. Yeah. Yeah. Please.
We have a big challenge of making them unlearn what they have been taught in the class, because they are very stereotypes, and that's a very big challenge to make them understand the corporate culture or how to go about their own industry in the industry we are working in. So how would the educators you would recommend they address this issue and teach their students?
When an industry recruits college graduates, often they have to spend more time in unlearning what they have learned. So his question is to educators as to how can they help industry in the process where they have to teach the art of unlearning to the students.
Unlearning on the part of the students, isn't it? Yeah, now first I want you to know, when I was teaching at Babson myself, this is a long time ago, that was the case, that many of them know what kind of a job category they want to go in. Salesforce versus production, financial analysis versus this. Second thing is that they get internal training. Teachers teach that you can slide into the job within a month. Because the company is looking, how do we get this person does something that make him successful? So no more theory here. So if I'm recruiting a Babson student in B2B selling, that will be the interview. Can he do that? What will he need? And there is a course on B2B selling. No, that's what the dean's job. How do you bring the faculty? How do you go? Yeah. No. Go.
Just with little one question. So it is true that we Indians need not to copy the model of Western universities, but still to match up the standards, we need to collaborate with foreign universities, particularly US and European universities. Then what should be the steps of collaboration? Because at the other hand, the government has released also, but government don't want to, don't want to give free hand to the foreign universities. But how to take benefit of their the way of education or their infrastructure and research for the improving standard of our education, particularly higher education. Thank you.
How did IIM become zero? That comes out of high. Yeah, sorry. Okay, he took the charge Ford Foundation gave money Harvard, and the faculty members went from here to there, they came from here to there. Calcutta, MIT, same way. So unless you're thinking putting new institutions around on the commercial basis, you've got to get the faculty here and vice versa. And they would join together. There was a Harvard professor called John Deere, and he came for a year, and he built the whole accounting department of Indians in Ahmedabad. I happen to think it's fantastic, but you can disagree with it. I think they're very good in doing that. Anybody heard of Mariko? Mariko? Yeah. Harsh Mariwala used to go at night to learn marketing from the Ahmedabad faculty. It's in the book I edited. I think it's very good. That's my view. The faculty in Ahmedabad, the marketing is very good. This is almost 30 years ago I'm talking. So that's how I would create that and go at it. I'm not talking institution to institution. You could do that. But we need to define what we want. From whom do we want? You've got to drive your Indian way. We've got a number of things in the Western side are not right for us. Define that. Before I take you, somebody else has anything here? Yeah, we got to get you first there. No, you go ahead. Because they already got 2 chances. You got to get your chance.
Sir, I have a very simple question in continuation with sir. Because industry is looking for students like, those are industry trained. And ultimately they are coming from school and colleges. And so liability lies on educators. And education, when we talk about teachers, it's a profession by chance, not by choice. So what say you have, like, when the teachers themselves, like, it is not by choice. The profession itself is not by choice. It's by chance.
She's wondering that often teachers do the job of teaching out of financial compulsions and not a matter of choice. So when such a situation is there, they get the student whom they have to unlearn a lot. So the question is, when you have a teacher who is not passionate about teaching, how to go about it?
Yeah, well, that's why we have the deans. That's what we have. I'll continue. Your question about the educator you were talking earlier, that's why you have the deans. That it's a major change for some, for whom the regression analysis type research is more critical to make a name. And that's okay, they have decided, why don't they? But for your kind of success, there may be lack of fit. Let's say, how do we do that? Sorry, please go ahead.
Sir, what happens, I think, is we prepare the students in terms of knowledge and then release them in the industry. But they need an interface between how to get into work. They have to differentiate family, they have to differentiate educational institutions, and they have to differentiate work organizations.
Absolutely.
And their roles and responsibilities in each. So in FLAME, we had designed a course called Entering Work, and that helped quite a bit.
No doubt, no doubt. By the way, I was very impressed by Jaipuria Institute because they have close to 100% employment. They go in, they have the slots. And so just think about if my son were to go to Jaipuria and being told that every year 99%, 98%, it gives a lot of confidence that I get the right training, I'll go and get there. Do that. It's a big test. Now, after they get into a company, then it is their drive, their learning, their people skills. You get there, including the entrepreneurial part. Maybe I start a little thing here with my colleague. So we should have 0 unemployable. That's the dean's job. That starts recruiting, not just what you got and making it. You've got to select the people who have this kind of a temperament. No, you don't take everybody. So there is one that I've come to my attention and I've not been able to work through this one. They shut it down
Yeah.
and they're going to start again. They got a new dean and said, we're going to take 3 years, going to redesign it. I'm not involved, they just talked to me about it.
I'm sure we would want to run it as long as we all can have, but unfortunately he has a flight and there are another sessions scheduled, so we'll have to bring it to an end now. So may I, on behalf of everyone present here, thank Dr. Ram for sharing his insights with all of us, and if you all can join me for a large round of applause.
Thank you, thank you. We have a very bright future for all these colleges because the jobs will be fantastic. They will be here. Industry needs them, and we make them practical.
Thank you, sir.
Just a moment, sir. Every time, sir, I hear you, I attended almost multiple sessions with you in the past so many years. I did attend so many business meetings, and every time you never miss to mesmerize the audience. So thank you so much for accepting this invitation and enlighten us. And who else could be better than asking a right question than Mr. Mahesh Sharma? So thank you so much, sir, for anchoring this interview. And for presenting a small memento, I request Mr. Shamit Dave to present a memento to Dr. Ram Charan. Thank you, Shamit, sir. I request Mr. B.P. Nani to present a small memento to Mr. Mahesh Sharma. Thank you, sir. And now, after a group photograph with Dr. Ram and all the speakers with us, we will have a 10 minutes break to start the next session with Professor Parimal Merchant. So I'm sure that you will be resumed in 10 minutes to start the further next session. Before that, we could have a group photograph with all the eminent speakers. Thank you.